Okay, so good morning. So our next lesson is on soil, water, and its properties. So for this lesson, you will be able to identify the different soil moisture characteristics and also towards the utilization of learning. So you'll be able to solve or determine the soil moisture content. Right? So water per se is affecting the soil formation. It also affects the structure and the stability of the soil. And of course, it is also affecting as a great factor in terms of the erosion. But here, the primary concern of water is for the plant's growth, and this is because of the following reasons. So the water is constituting 80 to 95% of the plant's protoplasm. So katulad natin, mga tao, 75% of our body is made of water. So the plants also need water. And the second one is that it is essential for photosynthesis. So water, we all know that H2O plus CO2 will produce oxygen, and then um, it is coupled with light so that makaproduce ng food yung plants, basically. And the third one is that the water is a solvent in which nutrients are carried into and throughout the plant. So katulad natin, kailangan natin ng tubig para uminom kung tayo ay nauuhaw o di kaya pagkatapos natin kumain, usually uminom tayo ng tubig. So si ang halaman kailangan din niya ng water for the nutrients na ma-distribute sa kanyang katawan. So, kung mapapansin nyo, we add fertilizers. So, most of the fertilizers, although there are already liquid fertilizers, so kailangan pa din ng water para mag-flow yung nutrients. And some of the fertilizers also are solid in solid state. So, hindi naman solid yun na papasok sa loob ng halaman. So, kailangan ng water for that nutrient to be dissolved para ma-distribute siya dun sa halaman, sa katawan ng halaman. And the last but not the least is that the water provides turgidity by which the plant keeps itself in its proper position. So, kasi kung walang water, di ba? Pansin nyo yung lantang halaman. So, hindi na siya turgid or hindi na siya straight. Hindi na maganda yung kanyang tindig. So, the water provides turgidity for the plant. Okay? So, the water per se is it alters the soil profile by dissolving and redepositing minerals, often at the lower levels. So once water enters the soil profile, the tendency of that, it will dissolve and redeposit minerals papunta doon sa lower levels of the soil profile. And this will possibly leave the soil sterile in the case of extreme rainfall and drainage. So, bakit nagiging sterile? Kasi wala nang natitirang nutrients doon sa upper portion of the profile. Nagdi-deposit na lang siya doon sa lower portion of the profile. Okay, on the other hand, in a loam soil, the solids constitute half of the volume. The gas is 1/4 and the water is 1/4 of the volume. So we try to recall here the soil as a three-phase system. So si soil ay mayroong 50% soil solids and 50% voids or pore spaces. And so 50% ng void spaces, 25% of that is occupied by water and 25% of that's occupied by air. So that is the ideal. But the 25% of the water, half of which is only available for the plants. So, hindi lahat ng hindi lahat ng water ay nagiging available sa halaman. So, let's comment to that in our succeeding discussion. So, we have here the term water retention forces. So, bakit hindi nagiging available yung ibang water doon sa halaman? It's because of this concept, the water retention forces also. So the water is retained in a soil, and when the adhesive force of attraction that water's hydrogen atoms have for the oxygen of soil particles is stronger than the cohesive forces that water's hydrogen have for the other water oxygen atoms. So, nagre-retain si water sa soil kapag tinatawag kasing adhesive kag different material. Si hydrogen ng water is more attracted doon sa oxygen. Mas mataas ang kanyang adhesive force towards the oxygen of the soil particles. If hindi mataas yung kanyang retention, then yung hydrogen will be attracted to other oxygen atoms of the water. And yan, talking about that, these forces, adhesive forces and cohesive forces, meron tayong tinatawag na suction. So, what is suction? In this definition, it is the total force required to pull or push water out of the soil. So, this is expressed in bars or 10 to the power of 5 Pascal, a little less than 1 atm, 1 atmosphere. And this is also known as the tension or the moisture potential. So, dapat yung suction ay mas mataas yung suction para ma-pull yan, or ma-push yung water out of the soil. So, in this case, mataas dapat yung moisture potential so that magiging available yung water doon sa halaman. So, when you're going to study more on moisture potential yan, or soil moisture tension yan, you will be dealing more of this kapag meron kang kinukonsider na drought. Like, ano yung magiging respond ng halaman mo when ganito yung moisture potential, moisture tension ng soil, i-subject mo siya sa drought level na ganito. So, something like that. Alright? So, we have here the porous media. So, soil in general is a porous media, and the porous media are materials containing pores or voids. So, these are commonly defined based on its porosity. So, for the soil, it can be defined based on permeability and hydraulic conductivity. So, si porous media, yan, it can be defined based on porosity and hydraulic conductivity. So, for the porosity, it is the void fraction. And it is the measure of void or empty spaces of the material. And it is the fraction of the volume of voids over the total volume of the soil or the material. And it ranges from 0 to 100. So, if meron kang clay soil, yan, clay soil, compared mo siya sa sandy soil. So, sino yung mas madami ang number of or measure ng pore spaces or voids? So, since si clay soil ay mas maliliit yung kanyang material or kanyang particles, right? So, if mas maliliit yung kanyang particles, then ang tendency niya is meron siyang mga pore spaces in between the soil particles. So, mas magiging madami yung pore spaces niya in between soil particles. Ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung kanyang porosity compared doon sa malalaki ang soil particles ng sand. So, kung malalaki yung soil particles na sand, mas malalaki din yung kanyang pore spaces, pero mas kukonti. So, if you can imagine yung jar, yan, tingnan nyo yung jar. Tapos maglagay ka ng gravel, tsaka maglagay ka ng sand. 'Di ba kung i-observe mo siya, mas madami ang pore spaces or mas kukonti yung pore spaces na makikita mo sa malalaking bato kaysa sa yung maliliit na bato. Pero yung maliliit na bato, mas madami ang kaniyang pore spaces, pero maliliit. So, similar to clay soil and the sandy soil. On the other hand, we have the hydraulic conductivity. So, it describes the ease with which the fluid or the water can move through the pore spaces. So the porosity can be proportional to the hydraulic conductivity. So if you have a high porosity, that would mean mas madami yung pore spaces mo pero mas maliliit. Then the tendency is you will have a lower hydraulic conductivity. Kasi maliliit lang din yung pore spaces mo, tendency niya. So, mas mag-i-store yung water. Whereas, kung meron kang mababang porosity, o konti lang yung mga pore spaces na yan, then ang tendency is that malalaki yung pore spaces. So, you will have a higher hydraulic conductivity and the water or the fluid can easily flow or can easily move through that pore spaces. Okay.